Great mates in that Liberal Party room. We've been through a lot together. Many of those guys I've known and girls I've known for at least a decade, and I just felt I had an obligation to stand before them and tell them face to face what my plans were, rather than do it sort of, just by press release.
Have you spoken to Scott Morrison personally since you made an announcement?
I haven't, no. And I must admit, I had a bit of a toss-up of a decision to make, whether I would see Scott Morrison first and announce my resignation. If I did that, it would have been effective immediately, and I wouldn't have had a right to go to the party room. I felt that I had an obligation to the Prime Minister and also to those other 100 colleagues to make sure that if I was making such a decision, that I actually saw them, eyeballed them and explained to them face to face.
Could you be wooed by the National Party?
Well, they've offered me a pair of nice R.M. Williams boots, and a Cobra hat and a Dreiser bone. There's actually, I saw a little package outside my office there this morning with a couple of love hearts from Barnaby. No, look, I don't see that happening. The Liberals and Nationals are in coalition. I have some difficulty and differences with the government's policies, so going to the Nationals would still be in the same boat that I was in yesterday or before yesterday. So I don't really see that as a possibility.
When did you make the decision? When did you make the decision? How long had you been tossing it up?
Well, I've been tossing it up since the Prime Minister had a bit of a crack at me in Parliament the other week. I'd been tossing it up since then, and I'd made my decision over the weekend. But I wanted to do it on a Tuesday so I could actually do it in front of colleagues. I thought I owed them that obligation.
Craig, have you had any discussions about possibly if you don't win as an independent at the federal election, would you consider a tilt at New South Wales State Parliament, possibly with One Nation?
Look, the first job, there's a couple of jobs. First is to get through the rest of this parliamentary term. There's still a lot of legislation that needs to go forward. There's a lot of things that I want to be arguing for. Secondly, there's the next election coming up, which I want to advocate for, and I want to make sure that the constituents of my electorate have a good reason to vote me and put me back into this place. Now, what happens after? And that's I know it's going to be tough, but I'm going to give it the very best shot that I've got, and hopefully I'll be successful. And if I'm not, well, I'll look at whatever options are open after that.
Would that include New South Wales State Parliament?
No, look,
One Nation?
At the moment, I'm going to sit as a Liberal independent, or if the Liberal independent, if there is such a thing. And to the next election, I'll be putting forward my views on what are traditional Liberal values that I believe that Sir Robert Menzies would endorse if he was alive today.
Craig, if you're a true Liberal, why would you take this move to deliberately undermine a Liberal coalition government?
Okay, this is why I've ensured that I will vote as a Liberal and a member of the government to guarantee supply, confidence, all procedural motions, and every single policy that we took to the election. When I say we as the coalition took to the election last year. So basically I said that's a contract that I have with the people that voted for me. This is the policy platform that we have. If you vote under that policy platform, you're voting for a Liberal member to be elected. I will guarantee that I'll support those policies.
Emissions reduction, energy bills, would you vote with the government on those?
The current CFC legislation that is coming up, I'll be voting with the government. However, Barnaby Joyce has an amendment. I will be looking at that in detail and considering or not whether to support that, as I would with any other amendment that any other member puts up.
Is there anything that you would put a ban on, would you not support?
Yeah, one thing I certainly wouldn't support is this idea that Australia should go to net zero by 2050 when China says they're going to do it in 2060. We are giving the Communist Party of China competitive advantage in so many areas that we do in energy policy. I want to see that Australia works in our nation's natural competitive advantages and doesn't surrender those unnecessarily to the Communist Party of China. And that's what...
We'll leave Craig Kelly there. That is live in Canberra. He is continuing to vow on to fight the next election as an independent, rebuffing those questions about whether or not he's going to go to the New South Wales state government, or at least try to next time around.